So as the next participant, I would ask Apostolos Veizis, who is a medical doctor and part of the NGO Doctors Without Borders, to tell us, since our last two speakers told some at least bits and pieces about the conditions on the move as a refugee, what you can tell us about the health and well-being of refugees on the move and also in Greece here. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for the invitation on this quite interesting meeting. And I think it's from the few meetings that in addition to discussion of the policies and next steps and what to do and how to do it, apparently there is a human dimension. So we need to discuss a little bit on what definition we put on the human dimension. As you know, we are living on a modern humans. That's the moment that as a human society we're living today. Even though it's difficult after all these nice presentations before, so to squeeze in 3 minutes, but I will try to do that. What is an important thing is to see that as a medical humanitarian organization, we have the good or the bad luck to be in the countries of origin, in countries of transit, and now we have to deal with the people on the move, on the countries that are destination or by definition they became as a destination. Have been one of the biggest challenges also for us as MSF to work in the so-called home societies, where we knew all the time that we are departing from here to go in other places, and suddenly we have to work with the same patients that we work with them in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, and we work now back. Now, that said, because the things, in addition to prescribing what are the medical conditions, I think I need to go very briefly saying that what we've been seeing first of all, poor reception conditions, detentions, pushbacks, closure and opening of the borders, externalization of the borders, and readmission agreements that have been the main menu of European Union and other states around the world that is offered to the people on the move. And with a special idea, giving the ball always to another one, so always European Union was giving the ball to Morocco or giving ball to Libya, and now is giving to Turkey. I'm sure that next year, probably with this way, we're not going to discuss anymore about people on the move, because there will not be any more people moving, because everybody will keep them far away. Now, as doctors, what we've been seeing, first of all, something that we did not touch today. We talk about death. So as a human being, as a part of a human life, the last year we had 10 people dying every day in order to reach the fortress Europe. And now that I'm talking to you, 2,942 people who have mother, father, sister, brother, like you and me, are not with us anymore. So this is the number that I'm sure that 2016 we will overpass 2015. So every year we're doing better by losing more people. So there are less people coming. What we've been seeing suffering, and a suffering that goes on the level of ill treatment and torture. So I think it is really hard to see that this is an intention of a human being to the rest of the human beings. This is a systematic torture and ill treatment of people. What we've been seeing people who are suffering or having health problems related and created because of the living conditions. What we've seeing people queuing to the toilet, queuing to the food, queuing. This is something people there, this is just they'll remember on their life, queuing. Now, I would mention to you that following the EU-Turkey deal, the President of the European Commission, Mr. Juncker, he said Greece facing today one of the most challenges situation would need extra staff. 4,000 extra staff, judges, case officers, border guards, translators will send to Greece. 300 million euros will be given. President Juncker did not talk about one social worker, one doctor, one nurse. So people always are looked as numbers. People will always look as not as a human being. I'm saying that because 93% of the people that we saw during 2015, out of 100,000 people, they talked to us about symptoms that they started at the beginning of the trip and during the period of stay. Most of the medical conditions were being treated in the Greek islands, in the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia or in Serbia, have been related and created because of living conditions. Imagine yourself coming out of the sea wet, you need to dry your clothes on your body, you don't have a shelter to stay, you don't have a toilet to go, you don't have water to drink, you don't have food to eat. So the next day, of course, you have upper respiratory tract infections, you catch cold. You have a gastrointestinal problems, you may have diarrhea. So you have a skin disease, because, I mean, you take you months and months not taking a shower. So more than 90% of the medical conditions were related with living conditions. So they are only counting on the fingers of one hand medical conditions that related to public health issues out of 100,000 people that we've been seeing. On the top of that, we talk about people that are bringing diseases. If you want to manage public health, you manage the life of people. You deal with them, you provide them services. But on the local level, on the central level, on international level, people believe that as you make their life more difficult, less people will come. This is something that never works and is going never to work. So today, what is an important thing, and that's why this morning when I made the statement, is this happening on our name? I think what we need to share with our societies today is that on their name, on their taxpayers, be that Greek or Europeans, millions of euros are being placed on the Aegean Sea with the NATO, on Frontex and fences, and not a single euro is being put for the people's health, and for their health and their dignity. Dignity is an important thing. Dignity when you see a child not to have a Pampers or having a plastic bag. Dignity means a woman not having a sanitary napkin. Dignity means not to change your underwear after 6 months. Dignity means when as a human being you are just begging for what? I mean, this is Europe welcoming people. And I mean, we are today, even though most of us here are converted people, and we believe on, that's why we're here and talking about it. But I think it is an important, and I think next time we have to show pictures so people, they realize that it's not Alan Kurdi. We see Alan Kurdi every day. We see suffering of people every day. And this suffering we need to bring to our societies. And I think I really appreciate the solidarity movement of people coming from Europe. These people, they need to go back and to maximize. We need more people to raise their voice in Europe. Because today what we see in Europe, if we see part of the society and we see increase on right-wing parties and we see increase of Nazism and fascism, it's something that this part of the society wants it. It's not just by chance. And I think in order to change that part, we need to bring what is the real people and what is happening with the people that we are working. And just to bring to you what is happening today. Today we don't have any more people on the move. We have stranded people. Stranded people that, based on the continent we are living in Europe, based on the resources we're having available, based on how many millions of euros are being allocated, maybe they did not reach but allocated, based on how many NGOs and international actors are in Greece, it is a shame to have camps in Greece that are not meeting even minimum standards of Sphere Project or UNHCR, etc. A Europe who is proud to help and give life to Sudan and Central African Republic and to Yemen cannot give in its territory. It's on purpose. It is not because they cannot. It is not because Greece is in crisis, because this is not a refugee crisis. This is lack of a political will, people hiding themselves after numbers, people hiding themselves on a situation that's manageable. It's manageable. If an organization like MSF is spending today in Europe 10% of its budget, it's a shame. 10% because Europe is useless and Europe cannot respond to that. And what the member states are doing today by giving some money to Greece, this is an excuse, saying that we are doing something. Humanitarian crisis in Greece is manageable. If Europe wants today to take out this humanitarian crisis, they can. If they don't want, and they don't want, they will maintain the situation here. Suffering is ongoing on the hotspots in the islands. The islands are becoming a big hotspot and people suffering. The mainland the same. And keep in mind that 40% of the people stranded in the camps are children. So just keep that in mind, because people, they touch with children. Here you are. 7 out of 10 are women and children. 9 out of 10 are people coming from refugee-producing countries. Do the country produce refugee? No, the conflict produce. So these are not numbers. So let's do something with the numbers and to avoid and not to leave the human suffering. Thank you.
Thank you very much, of course, also for reminding us all on the fact that sadly not one doctor or one nurse was meant by Jean-Claude Juncker when he was speaking that Greece would need hundreds of people as support from the European Union. I think this explains a lot that it is on purpose, and it is not lack of potential or lack of money, but it's mainly lack of political will. Thank you very much for reminding that. Can Gülcü, as board member of a human rights pressure group, SOS Mitmensch in Austria, you are also working for and working with refugees, and you do also a lot of political work. What can you tell us about the human dimension?
I will try to make a small break, actually. I think there is a lot of professional experience, personal experience on this table, in this room. We hear a lot of stories, and I try to get a little more abstract again. Even you were complaining at the beginning with the abstraction of topics, and try not to talk about the human dimension of the issue, but maybe a certain human condition of our times. I'm working actually in two professional fields. One is education. I'm teaching university students who are going to be teachers about cultural studies, political studies, and so on. And I'm also board member of an initiative called Project School for All, a project initiative trying to integrate, so to say, young refugees into the education system. And the idea behind education, as we know, is of course to raise children to being self-esteemed, self-determined, and autonomously thinking adult persons. This is the one thing, and the other thing where I work is the cultural field, arts, and the ingredients of the practice in that is fantasy, is ideas, dreams, utopia. And I'm a leftist, so anyway, a bit romantic, and all three have to do with something, or with a possibility to, if you do it well, to touch people deeply. And from that perspective, I want to talk, actually. And I have the idea, when I talk about these issues, and also when we talk together about these issues here and somewhere else, almost all our argumentations and conclusions are very much defensive, have a very much defensive character, and dominating with a dominating figure of fear we have. And we try to give a lot of pragmatic answers to very complex questions. Pragmatism is a good idea, but giving pragmatic answers to every question we have is a little bit of a disease of a very bureaucratic mindset, I would say. And I have also the impression that at the same time our point of departure when we try to find answers, and also at the same time the conclusion is always there is no alternative. We had this also in different levels today, I would say, in the first panel very much. There is no alternative, so we try to find and talk a lot about plans, plan A, B, and C, how to manage certain situations. We have to. There is no alternative to act, we know that. But on the other hand, we are talking very little about the ideas A, B, and C, the ideas about our societies, and it seems like that the only people who are talking about ideas about the societies are the right wing, apropos fear, at the moment. So I want to just make a very short look back to the past. In the 70s, in the middle of the 70s, Austria, as well as Germany, have decided to stop legal migration of guest workers. So working migration, and that was on the one hand necessary. It was a very pragmatic solution also to secure social, or to get the social security and so on. I think the government of one politician, who is very much admired in the room, I guess by many, Bruno Kreisky, with the pressure of trade unions, found the legal measurements, so to say, to divide the working class in good and bad workers, so to say, in citizens and foreigners. And what happened is like that for the ones, the living conditions got better, got improved maybe, but for the others, not only the access to the labor market, to the legal rights and so on got limited, but also the access to the possibility to participate. So 40 years after that, we are talking about integration a lot. We are talking about integration a lot as a problem. And on the other hand, we are talking about the rise of the right wing. And when we talk about the rise of the right wing, we have to ask maybe the question, who are the voters of the right wing at the moment? And these are the children, or maybe themselves, the children and the children's children of the good workers from that times, who are afraid of the future and who are also dreaming of re-establishing the conditions from the good past times and so on. So I think it makes sense in order not to make the same failures. We did already, even if the situations are different, even if you face very difficult situation at the moment. I think we, as the persons who want a better world for everyone, have also to go back to talk about the ideas. We have to go back to talk about the definition of work. We have to go back to talk about how we want to live, or how we want to define transgenerational relations, transnational relations, transcultural relations, how we want to secure social security for everyone, how we think about the education system which gives everyone the same chances and so on. And I have the impression we stopped to talk about that a little bit, and others talk a lot about these issues, but not in a good way. And I think that's my conclusive point. I think about the future of our societies, we have to start to talk, to develop ideas and so on, and not only to develop the ideas, but to start to communicate. Start to communicate and reach people who are in a situation where they don't see any chances for the future, and this can be both parts. It can be people coming now, our new neighbors and friends, but also people who are living here in our societies for a long time.
Thank you, Can Gülcü, for this interesting analysis and for the inputs containing in your input. Last but not least, I want to ask Sotiris Alexopoulos. We are glad that you made it. Thank you for being here. We know these are very stressy days for you, and I would like to ask you to tell about your work, Refugees Welcome in Greece, about your NGO, and what also will happen in the next days at the port of Piraeus. Thank you very much.
Late here, but there's a lot going on in the port these days, because early next week, we hope to have everybody moved from the port at long last to a proper camp. So we're now working on this, preparing people, trying to see how they will fit in the small isobox houses that they will go to, most of them. And this is very good news. We've been pressing the government, the ministry, and everybody to find good places for these people to go. But this was not possible up to now, and it's only possible now only because a number of Yazidis will be moved from the camp of Skaramangas to another camp up in central Greece, where they will be on their own. You all know the Yazidis and how much they're persecuted by everybody and so on. So it's a good thing that the Yazidis will be in a safer environment on their own in a new camp in Trikala, near Trikala. And places that will be emptied will be taken by the Syrians who have been waiting for many months in the port in awful conditions under the sun, the merciless sun, I would say. There's a bridge there, thank God, which helps a little bit. But this is no condition for human beings there. And at long last, I think we shall be able to see all the refugees that now are in port be taken to proper housing. In Skaramagas, as you may know, there are isobox homes. There are 2 rooms in each of those isobox structures. There is a bathroom in the middle with running water, toilet and shower, very valuable and precious things, as you realize. And there is even air conditioning, which for the Greek summer is also valueless. This is good news, and we had to prepare to disseminate this information to people and start getting them prepared to move. Also, the majority in the port now, there are only about less than 800 people left. The majority are Syrians, and there are a few Afghans who will be taken to another camp called Nofita, which is about 50 kilometers north of Athens. That's a nice place too. It's an industrial building in which there have been built 56 rooms for one for each family. They have shower, they have toilets and everything. And there they're trying to do sort of a model camp, to set up a model camp, in that they are trying to get people to organize themselves, and they've done it to a certain extent. They take care of their garbage, they clean the place, they have a communal kitchen where every family cooks for the family, which brings them nearer to the notion of living in a normal life rather than giving out the catering companies food, which is not always the best. And they have even, because most of the people, the Afghans there, are of agricultural origin, they asked for and they have been given the opportunity to grow hens and chicken. So they have a chicken farm, they have eggs from that, and of all the places I've seen around Athens, I think this one is nearer to what I would imagine should be, a camp should be, where people feel that it is their camp, it is their place, they must take care of it. It has a medical service, very good medical service there, local, it's day and night in the camp. It's quite okay. I must say, though, that we have been in the port for about a year now. At the first stage, we are not an NGO. We are a team of volunteers. We are called Piraeus, which means from all over Piraeus, initiative for the support to refugees and immigrants. And most of our members come from the Solidarity movement in Greece, which came to being just after the austerity measures were imposed on the Greek people about 7 years ago, when we have about 1.5 million unemployed people. Some of these unemployed people got together, among whom myself, and we said, okay, we must do something. We can't just sit back and watch things happening. So we tried to locate what were the major problems of the Greek refugees, because I like to compare the refugees that came from the sea to the refugees that were created here. You don't need to move from a place to become a refugee. You can be a refugee in your own country. And we unfortunately have a lot of local refugees here, Greeks and non-Greeks. We have immigrants from previous decades as well. And so we tried to spot and tap resources which were wasted for food, and we found fish which was thrown away because the market wouldn't absorb it, and we collected that and distributed to our network of people who were in need. We found the supermarkets throwing away their expired cheeses and all products in the garbage bin, and people trying to fish them from a garbage bin, and we thought that this has nothing to do with dignity. This says a lot about dignity, to see people trying to fish their food from the garbage bin. So we approached the owners of the supermarkets and told them, look, this is no way to do it. Why don't you deliver everything to us and we distribute to people? And then we started cooking for the homeless people and also distributing food to the people who have means to cook themselves. And also we collected lots of medicine. You were so surprised to find out how much medicine lied around idle in the Greek homes. And lots of clothes as well. We set up in every city warehouses for clothes and food and everything. So when the refugees came here, the foreign refugees came here, we were ready and it was very easy for us to include them in our umbrella of protection for the local refugees. And that's why last summer when we realized that thousands of people are passing from our ports towards the border, the northern borders, we got together, all the people from the Solidarity movement, and and approached the Port Authority, asked the Port Authority to give us an area in the port and a building in the port where we established our welcoming base, we call it, for the refugees. So we had their clothes, we had food, we had facilities for breakfast and soups. We had a medical first aid room with volunteer doctors, which is a great part of the Solidarity movement, has to do with medical care. And we also opened up some forgotten showers in that building, and the showers were the most valuable. We realized one of the most valuable offers we could make to the refugees was the showers, because some of them hadn't taken a bath since they left Afghanistan, and you could easily sense that, I must say. So the people were so happy to get a shower after such weeks without it. This was all right in a happy atmosphere. We were just there to smile to them, to give them a word of welcoming, and then offer whatever we had, which was all gathered from the people, always, of course. And then we see them off to the buses. When in February the borders were closed for the Afghans and later for the Syrians, we just found ourselves with a makeshift camp in our hands. And because we had the infrastructure there, we had access to the buildings, we had all the agreements and arrangements with the Port Authority to use this space, then we continued doing it, even though now it was a camp. People were settling in the buildings and outside. We made a huge campaign to find tents for them, because the buildings were very, very short, very fast filled. So we brought tents from all over Europe and gave to people. We had the problem of feeding them. We had Greek people bringing food, also the Greek society in general responding in bringing, that was our greatest agony, the portions of cooked food. We cooked before for the homeless, but the numbers, we were outnumbered. We used to cook for a few hundred, now we had a few thousand people to deal with. And where the government, the bankrupt government, could not respond, in the beginning they were not able to provide food for these refugees, the society moved in, and in a cooperation which was quite admirable. You could see people from very different origins, from the church to business to football clubs to whatever. They all brought, and restaurants of course, and housewives, they all brought cooked food to feed the refugees. It was an amazing experience, and it's a proof that even where a state may fail, society may be there to fill in the gap for the failed state. Eventually, when the number grew over 5,000, the state couldn't anymore provide for their food from the various sources. Then the ministry took over their feeding through catering companies. And I'm now glad to be able to announce that on next Monday that the last people will leave the port, where life has been very dangerous, very risky, especially for children, because this port never stopped operating as a port. Ferries coming, lorries coming and going, and it's really a miracle that so far we didn't have any of those children who come. Some of them come from villages, and they have no sense of they have no notion how risky it is, that a car kills. So thank God, so far we avoided that. And we hope that next Monday, day after tomorrow, we shall send everybody to a better place to seek not a better life in the camps. The people, I must say, people are not here as tourists. They are here to take care of the paperwork that is required for them to improve their lives. Therefore, it's a mistake to send them in remote camps in the mountains. They're not here for holidays. They need to be near big cities and cities where there are facilities for asylum application. Also, lots of them are going to be reunited with their families. Therefore, they need to be near Athens, particularly where there are embassies of Germany and other European countries where they're going. I respect everybody's coffee break, and I stop here. I could say a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sotiris. I want to thank all the participants for their great inputs. I guess we are all a bit tired, but still, it's my duty as the chair to ask, are there any questions? And short comments, very short comments. No, I think we are, one, I see. Please, please.
I hope you don't mind that I'm standing still. It helps me breathe. So I'm a journalist. My name is Christina Tahiau. I come from Greece, from Thessaloniki. This means the fact that I'm a journalist means that I don't have to be romantic. First of all, I want to congratulate the organizers. I want to congratulate all you people from the NGOs. You are doing a great job. However, there are some lessons that should be learned from Idomeni. I heard Xanthoula. I have seen her on TV many times. I have visited Idomeni. I had been reporting from there. The things are not as romantic as described here. I mean, I come from Thessaloniki, I repeat it. We are very close to Idomeni. It had been raining in March, so every morning we got up with all my friends, we were on the phone. My God, it's raining. What are they doing there? The first thing we had been thinking was the people that were living there. You have to know that these people did not want to leave Idomeni. They wanted to stay there until the moment the borders would open. So, what's my comment? My comment is that all that had turned into a circus, into a freaky circus. People from all over the world came to Idomeni in order to shoot. It was so interesting shooting. They came there for documentaries. They were laughing. We had clowns. There were people who wanted to make fun for the children, to amuse everybody. It was a non-human situation there. And what's the lesson that should be learned? That the NGOs were in charge. I have to tell you that at Idomeni, there was nowhere the Greek state. It was just the UNHCR and also the NGOs. The first was the Médecins Sans Frontières, and then went the others. And nobody had any idea who was there. As a result, there were people who came with a pretext of humanitarian aid. There were people, we don't know who they were, from all over the world, and they were speaking to the refugees, convincing them to do dangerous things. So they put their lives in danger. They made them cross the borders, to cross a river. People were drowned there, and there was nobody who knew what was going on there. What I mean from this is that there is a lesson. Maybe the NGOs had more responsibility than they could themselves carry. And maybe we should keep this for some other time, because we can't tell that no more Idomeni will ever be, that everything will be fine from now on. We don't know. So I think that we should keep the lessons that we have learned from this, from all this non-human situation. It was not human. And I have to tell Xanthoula that the people who live there at Idomeni, they were real heroes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Apostolos and Matteo would like to answer to that.
Just to thank you first of all for the comment. NGOs and solidarity groups were accused by the Greek state and by European Union that they are maintaining people in the improper conditions, both in Piraeus camp and in Idomeni. So they are the one to keep people there, not to let them go. trying to cover their weakness and their inability and their lack of presence, because when the Greek state moved people from Idomeni, Idomeni was called, sorry for my French, a hole, just a black hole. People that were swimming on the mud. The Greek state moved these people from that black hole and put it there in the warehouses in another black hole, where at least in Idomeni, the people had 24 hours, 7 people to talk to them, to provide them something. So where there is no state responsibility, you cannot blame people who are trying to show solidarity. So I think the state needs to take their own responsibility. So it's not NGOs and people are taking the role when the government are not there. If the government are there, NGOs will be leaving the country the next day. Thank you.
I'd like to take the opportunity to strongly support what Apostolos said. I believe to say that NGOs were in charge is a complete misappropriation of what was happening at Idomeni and elsewhere in Greece in the last year. In fact, the condition for NGOs working in Greece has been rather more complicated, as it has for volunteers and activists who came here with the express purpose of helping Greece and helping the refugees to have passage through Greece. All of the refugees and migrants in passage through Greece are the responsibility and the wards of the Greek government. That's quite clear. Not only that, but in Idomeni, being within 1,000 meters of an international borderline was actually the responsibility of the Greek military. There were many NGOs and non-official actors working at Idomeni to improve the condition there under quite heavy restrictions, in fact, from the Greek state. And I think NGOs rather welcomed when the state finally found time and ability to come in and find ways to help the people move away from there, as I'm sure Sotiris was saying, welcoming the final ability of the state to make changes there. I think to blame NGOs and people who came out of their own volition to help is rather unfair.
I saw a last question there. If someone would bring the microphone here. No, sorry, the lady was first.
Hello, thank you for giving me the last question. My name is Lara Nettlefield. I'm with the University of London and Columbia University. And my question is for Sotiris about the final evacuation or movement of refugees from Piraeus. Does the entire population in Piraeus know when this will take place and how? Have they been adequately informed about where they're going? The first movement of refugees left a lot of people who lost all of their possessions and their tents, and it wasn't as perhaps organized as it could have been. So has that been changed for this?
One of the reasons that I stay in Idomeni, it was because I feel ashamed of the gap of everyone for more of 8 months. I will not support NGOs, but also I will not support the activists. I will not support the leftists because no one came. And when I say no one, I mean no one. Not even the local mayor, municipality, not even the region, not even no one. Well, there is someone that makes me, because I prefer to stay silent about Idomeni, because I'm hearing so many things about Idomeni, and makes me sometimes feel more ashamed of what happened and what still happened. It's like we found a dead body, and everybody now wants to bite at something because it's so popular. But for MSF, I have to tell you something. The locals from Polycastro, not from the other villages, because I didn't show no one to go there. If MSF wouldn't come, because we was tired, without money anymore, we support everything by our pockets, people at Idomeni, the refugees, they will be dying. September 2014 was more of 500 people there. Everybody thought that was 80 people. No, sorry, more of 500 people. No hospitals, no ambulance, no volunteers, no activists, no one. This is the history of Idomeni. I appreciate what with your team you did when I had so much problem with the clothes. We had tons of clothes and no one wanted to give clothes because clothes was not popular at this period. Whoever wants just the media to give the croissants, the king of croissant. Yeah, that's a reality. Yes, there is many problems, but to accuse, as the journalist said, the NGOs that organize, the people that they pass from the river, a drone, 3 persons, not the NGOs. Not the NGOs, for the people that we know who did it, Who leading these people? And also blame the ex-minister of Germany that he was getting involved of all of this. That's a totally mistake. For Idomeni, I think everyone has to be a little more serious, because there, our gap needs an award of everyone that we allow one war in Idomeni, when every day we had more of 150 people victims of mafia, of our neighbor police, and no one was telling nothing. Nothing. One winter, no one came at Idomeni. 2 winters, no one came at Idomeni. And when I say no one, allow me to say no one. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask Sotiris to answer this question, and I would like to add a short question, since you were talking about proper camps in which refugees will be transferred, hopefully. Was there a financial support by the EU establishing these proper camps, or is it without any help of the EU? Thank you.
Well, I'll first answer to your question. You obviously refer to the evacuation of the Stonehouse building by the police, which took place a few days ago. That was a job which was carried out by the police without our participation, and the police are not very good at that, and they really made a mess of it, whilst they could very easily have exactly the same result with just being a bit more patient, giving people time to pack up and things. To avoid similar unacceptable situations, since we learned about the new places offered to the refugees of Piraeus, which was last night, we started, that's what we've been doing all day, telling people what's happening. They should know that they go to a good camp. Actually, everybody knows in Piraeus Skaramangas, and everybody was asking to go there. So it's now for them really a miracle that, because we were telling them, we didn't know that so many places would be created there, because a whole group of people would have to leave. So we're telling them Skaramangas and Leonas are finished. Let's hope that the new camps that are on opening would be equally good. Thank God that this opportunity arose now, and these people who have really deserved to go somewhere well, because they have suffered a lot. These are the last people. Some of them have been living there for 5 months, maybe, Mohammed, since early February. Some of them are living, in quotation, living, because this is not living, for such a long time that they deserve to go to some place with human conditions. And we're working on that, and we're inviting everybody to be there on Monday morning, 10 o'clock, to help us and take part in this, which I think is, I expect to be turned into a celebration, because at long last people will get off the asphalt. The asphalt these days with these temperatures is really melting. So people are living in melting asphalt, and they are under the merciless sun of Greece. So thank God this solution was found. Before we knew about this solution, we started sending people to squads. You should know that where the official and the government efforts are not capable of providing places for refugees, then some of the volunteers themselves opened up closed hotels, closed clinics, and this and that, which I've always been telling people the government should have squatted there first, formally, because if you have people on the streets and you have empty buildings which were used for massive, for putting up people like hotels and clinics, hospitals, it's really unacceptable that you let this go on. You should take the people from the street and put them in the buildings. If the government can do it, we shall do it. And indeed, many groups of volunteers and with the participation of the refugees themselves, which makes sense, went into these buildings, and some of them and most of them are working really in a very fine way, because they themselves do everything, the refugees. We, as Pampiraiki, I must say here, are supporting this movement practically because we have a very big warehouse in Liniko, the old Athens airport, from where we supply, where we collect from all over Greece and all over the world humanitarian aid for the refugees. So from there we supply all the official camps, but even more so the unofficial camps, that is the squads, because they don't have the government support, while the camps have the government support. But we send containers of supplies to the camps directly, sometimes from the port, and daily we supply and support the squads. We believe the government should have done it before, and where the government, as I told you earlier, fails, then society has to move in and do what's right to be done.
Okay.
Is there another question for me? Yes,
Just a short
about
one.
the funding.
EU
Yes,
financial help.
look, I'm a field worker. I'm spending 18 hours a day in the port. I don't have time to read what's happening. I've heard, though, that the EU money has gone primarily to the NGO. This is the complaint of the government, that the European Union ought to have given these budgets, these funds to the government and not to the NGOs. In the third world countries where there are no government, and you don't know where the government is, like Sudan with the many governments, it's understandable that the EU give the funds to organizations that they know and they trust. But in a European country like Greece, it really doesn't seem to make sense that the majority of the funds goes to the NGOs rather than to a state where there is a proper state, not a third world state.
I assume there are different views on that.
Yeah, it's not
maybe just one
yeah.
sentence so we can go into the coffee break.
It's not a matter of different views. It's just European Union gave money to the Greek state to open first the camps when they were set up by the army. After many efforts, European Union decided ECHO can operate in Europe, so that's ECHO, European Community Humanitarian Office. So ECHO works through an NGO community. So the government tried to get this money, but ECHO does not work on that way. So money is given from ECHO funding its own partners. We have two international organizations, that is UNHCR and International Federation of Red Cross, and other NGOs international that are partnered to ECHO. So in reality, these organizations are going to work in the camps providing services. So the state receives money from other channels of European Union, of the Commission, AMIF funds and stuff like that. So it's not the issue that money goes to NGOs, it's the way how ECHO works out of that.
Okay, thank you very much for the information. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I want to thank first of all to our participants for their very, very interesting and touching inputs. But I want also to thank you for your patience, for your interest and for your power. And now we will enjoy our coffees and teas, I hope. Thank you.